Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha and welcome to this week's Line of Sight, the Exclusively Games Weekly News Roundup. Before we get into things, I wanted to talk to everyone about this vile, despicable, evil new website that I just discovered but is in no way affiliated with this particular well-meaning, well-intentioned YouTube channel. Even though we share a name and we share the same logos, we're somehow completely different. It's called Exclusively Games, and that website has become notorious for creating video game news and reviews on a daily basis without resorting to pushing any sort of political position or ideological narrative. What's worse, this disgusting creation is reader-funded and contains no ads, making sure to concentrate on just the games industry. Now, I don't know what the world is coming to when we're forced to deal with a site such as this, but I know that I want no part of anyone going to visit this site and checking it out, even though I put a link to it in the description below that should absolutely not be clicked on, while you're also not clicking on those like and subscribe buttons as well. Also, before we get into the news for this week, I thought it best to take a moment to talk to you about our Lord and Savior, bacon. Yes, bacon. Whether it be fried, baked, chopped, deep fried, served by itself in a sandwich, on a steak, or on a salad, bacon is the food that makes all other foods worth having. Hashtag not sponsored by bacon. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's see what's on the list for this week. The UK Parliament releases a heavy determination surrounding loot boxes and video game gambling. Bethesda pulls another Bethesda by continuing to include pay-to-win microtransactions within Fallout 76. And Borderlands 3 has had a fresh controversy over allegations of a keylogger and of a strange upload bandwidth consumption. And now that we're all queued up, let's get started. As we all know, the war over loot boxes and whether or not they are gambling has been and remains to be a controversial hot-button topic within the video games industry, with the attempted pay-to-win loot box monetization of Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA. While being by no means the first video game with pay-to-win loot boxes, it was definitely by far and away the most vocally opposed by gamers. Since then, the government entity is slowly becoming aware of the gambling nature, whether perceived or real, and have set about investigating the potential harm that can be caused if it is to be deemed unregulated gambling that is also highly accessible to minors. Now, in a recent posting on the UK Parliament's website, it was announced some descriptors and courses of action to be taken in regards to what has been deemed the financial harms of immersive technologies. It is a lengthy document to be sure, so we'll just cover the most basic of outlines. In response to gambling-like behaviors, they had the following to say. We believe that any gambling-related harms associated with gaming should be recognized under the Online Harms Framework. To inform this work, the Department for Digital, Culture, Media, and Sport should immediately establish a scientific working group to collate the latest evidence relating to the effects of gambling-like mechanics in games. The group should produce an evidence-based review of the effects of gambling-like game mechanics, including loot boxes and other emerging trends, to provide clarity and advice. This should be done within a timescale that enables it to inform the government's forthcoming online harms legislation. Specifically, in reference to the potential harms that unregulated gambling mechanics can cause to children, the document states, we recommend that loot boxes that contain the element of chance should not be sold to children playing games, and instead in-game credits should be earned through rewards won through playing the games. In the absence of research which proves that no harm is being done by exposing children to gambling through the purchasing of loot boxes, then we believe the precautionary principle should apply, and they are not permitted in games played by children until the evidence proves otherwise. In reference to the potential harms of loot boxes themselves, the UK Parliament decided upon the following. Loot box mechanics are integral to major games companies' revenues, and evidence that they facilitate profiting from problem gamblers should be of serious concern to the industry. We recommend that working through the PEGI Council and all other relevant channels, the UK government advises PEGI to apply the existing gambling content labeling and corresponding age limits to games containing loot boxes that can be purchased for real-world money and do not reveal their contents before purchase. And finally, they also covered skin betting, which is at the core of the economy or skinonomy of many games such as CSGO, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and many others. The Gambling Commission argues that the games industry has a role to play in preventing such third-party activities. Its written evidence states, the significant risk of harm posed by these unregulated gambling websites, whilst unintended, is nonetheless a byproduct of the manner in which games have been developed and in-game economies incorporated for commercial benefit. Despite there being no evidence of any direct commercial relationship between games publishers and the illegal gambling facilities, it is reasonable to infer that there is an indirect benefit derived derived from these activities, given they drive engagement with the game, and it is the game's publishers who are the ultimate source of in-game items, acting as a de facto central bank. The Parliament's response to this was the following: "We agree with the Gambling Commission that games companies should be doing more to prevent in-game items from being traded for real-world money or being used in unlicensed gambling. These uses are a direct result of how games are designed and monetized, and their prevalence undermines the argument that loot boxes are not a form of gambling. Moreover, we believe that the existing concept of money's worth in the context of gambling legislation does not adequately reflect people's real-world experiences of spending in games." The Parliament then finishes the document with a final parting shot at loot boxes. "We consider loot boxes that can be bought with real-world money and do not reveal their contents in advance to be games of chance played for money's worth. The government should bring forward regulations under Section 6 of the Gambling Act 2005 in the next parliamentary session to specify that loot boxes are a game of chance. If it determines not to regulate loot boxes under the Act at this time, the government should produce a paper clearly stating the reasons why it does not consider loot boxes paid for with real-world currency to be a game of chance played for money's worth." And as a result of this report, it would seem that the clock is indeed ticking in regards to loot boxes. Government entities, it seems, are not as placated by referring to them as surprise mechanics as Electronic Arts would like to think, which is a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Now, our next story is one that involves our old friends Bethesda and their recent actions surrounding the Atom Shop in Fallout 76. I think it's safe to say that Bethesda has gotten so many things wrong in regards to this game, and particularly its initial launch, that Bethesda has now become a verb to denote completely messing things up. With the initial launch being horrendously broken, the launch codes for the nuclear missiles never changing, the lack of any meaningful in-game story content, the fact that 3 nukes dropped simultaneously would crash all of the servers, the whole Nuka-Rum Dark controversy, the bait-and-switch advertising with a canvas bag, the list goes on and on and on. And amongst all of those was Bethesda going back on their word that the Atomic Shop would remain cosmetic only. To quote Pete Hines, "All the content we ever put out for Fallout 76, all of the DLC, all the post-launch stuff is going to be free. That's important. And to say the Atomic Shop is cosmetic stuff. To make sure folks understand, look, there's a line. There are people who have crossed it, but we're going to stay on the right side of it in terms of the things you can spend money on and how this stuff works and what you're getting for your $60. That, when they put out new content or features or whatever, I'm getting that stuff for free. That feels right." However, since then, Bethesda has released numerous items within the Atom Shop that are definitely not cosmetic only. Per the game's patch notes for September 10th, the Atom Shop will now include these 2 new items. The Collectron Station. After building a Collectron Station in camp, a Collectron bot will search the nearby area for scrap and other simple items. Collectron Stations can be unlocked in the Atomic Shop. In addition to that, there are also refrigerators on offer as well. After building a refrigerator in camp, players can assign food and drink items to it from the stash to slow their spoilage rate by 50%. Refrigerators can be unlocked in the Atomic Shop. And per other media outlets like TechRaptor, the refrigerator costs a whopping $7, putting the lie to the term micro within microtransaction. And while these items are not strictly pay to win, they are definitely pay to advantage with an online multiplayer game with a PvP element, and are most definitely against all statements Bethesda had previously made to the contrary. Now, our final story for the week surrounds Borderlands 3, because why not? Yes, Borderlands 3 did drop this past week, and the launch of the game has not been met with a kind response within some circles. However, not all may be as it seems. There are 2 issues going on here surrounding this game. The first is an accusation that the game makes use of a keylogger. The second, that Twitch streamers have been noticing the game consuming 2 megabits, not megabytes, there's a difference, of bandwidth per second. In regards to the first accusation, the keylogger, it came from these snips of a Discord post from a person actively attempting to crack the de novo DRM within the game's executable. Now, in that posting, he says the following: "This stuff, because I can't say the naughty word, is so intrusive it would lock the mouse up at random intervals outside the game due to it checking for unauthorized inputs when I tried injecting. It has to be some kind of keylogging spyware in order to do this. That will be super juicy if we can prove that kind of illegal content." Now, it is important to note that these are broad-based assumptions with no actual evidence provided, and may be wishful thinking for a bit of fun controversy on the part of the poster. Regardless, this assumption is now being treated as fact in some circles, and several other YouTubers have already been releasing videos decrying the Keylogger's existence. Then, the second accusation, that the game is consuming upload bandwidth at a prodigious rate. One such accuser was the Twitch streamer Flare2V, who had the following to say.
So, this is me finding out that I can't stream Borderlands 3 because it requires that it maintain a constant connection with something or other. It constantly requires that it upload up to, and possibly over, 2 megabits of data every second. That's as much as my upload speed. That is my upload speed. I cannot stream Borderlands 3. I have been waiting 7 years. I have streamed this game for years. I have streamed Borderlands for years, and I can't stream it. So, thank you to Denuvo, thank you to Epic, thank you to whatever decided that this was required for the game to exist. It's pretty heartbreaking.
Along with that, Flare2V posted this screenshot showcasing the Borderlands executable consuming a little over 1 megabit, that's bit not byte, of bandwidth, which normally it should not be doing. Now, I myself released a video this weekend showcasing my own findings, which resulted in a very different outcome. The reason for this upload consumption was due to, and bear in mind this is purely speculative and completely unproven, the EchoCast Twitch integration. Now, the reason for this supposition was due to the extreme amount of on-demand information the integration app provides to Twitch streaming viewers, plus also when I myself was running the test and I enabled the EchoCast integration within the option setting within the game, several new connections were made within my Wireshark scans. Although as I myself was not streaming, no upload occurred. So while we have somehow ended up with nothing but speculation in regards to Borderlands 3 and what it may or may not be doing with our computers, hopefully that will set us on the path to finding the answers without too much outrage over something that has yet to be proven. But that's all the time we have for this week's Line of Sight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed yourselves here today. I know I certainly have. If you did, or even if you didn't, be sure to let us know down in the comments. If you'd like to hear more from me on these matters, then please do check out my YouTube channel over at youtube.com/SidAlpha. Link is in the description below. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am Sid Alpha, and I'll see you next time.